Hey guys, Kearon here with Explorminate, and welcome to a little Endless Space 2 featurette. Decided to do a few little videos showcasing just some of the more interesting, I'll say additions or changes to the game. And what I wanted to start out with is actually the political system. It's one of the things that sets Endless Space 2 apart from other Amplitude games, and I think really from other at least 4X in the way that it's implemented. Not that there aren't politics in other systems, but there's definitely some things here worth paying attention to. Let's dive right in here. So we actually have a game queued up here. Turn 60, so we're about to have an election. We'll run through that kind of at the end, but I want to break down things a little bit first. First off, let's look at the population. So here we have our Mavros, our Epistis, and of course Sophons. This is our main race. This is who we started as. And as you notice, right here to the right, each one of these has a different kind of political ideology in the output. So the more Mavros I get, the more industrialists I'll have, and so on and so forth. So with this, they do have reactions to political events, which is kind of interesting. It's sort of at least what I can tell, a subsystem within the political, I guess, workings overall. So let's take this, we'll take the Sophons, for example. They're materialistic. So political opinion is more impacted by events. Okay, so that means events might influence them, whether that's a random event or whatnot. I think likewise, I'm not sure if this extends as far as to if you get invaded, they're more likely to swing militaristic slightly, or what. They also have anti-spiritual, so they just are not affected by religious events. Oh, actually, sorry, no, that's very self-evident. Their scientific political opinion is affected by events. Their political opinion is not very affected by religious events, and the pacifist events also support their furthering, I guess, of their rooting in their political opinion of let's follow science. So that's how you have this wheel here. You notice religious plays a very small role that's actually halved, as opposed to when a scientific political event is triggered, it's doubled. And then these are just the same amount. So there are events in the games, and I'm not able to queue one up, but it might be something like Galactic Market, or I'm just pulling that out of the hat, right? You have two options. You can improve the science output or the dust output. Now, the science output would be increased for the Sophons because of their scientific leanings. So kind of interesting how it seems to influence events here. But the biggest part of the whole puzzle is the number of Sophons I have influences my scientific political party. So if we look at our overall breakdown, we're mostly scientific, about 2/3 science, 1/3 pacifist. That all plays into how we are building. It's dust buildings and pacifist hero, recruitment, trade, friendly diplomacy, and empire. Where I'm pulling those out down here, guys, look. So as I build dust buildings or these things, I have more pacifists. Likewise, as I build scientific buildings, science heroes, explore the galaxy, make science agreements, and unlock more research eras, my scientists will grow. Now, if we could look at this under a microscope, well, not under a microscope, with a few more parties, you could see, industrialists are probably going to be sponsored, but let's put on our thinking caps, right? Buildings that improve your production output and so on. So it's kind of neat how your population, the buildings you build, all that ties into your Senate breakdown. And then just kind of a fun thing. If you have a pacifist hero, they would lead, but your first hero is always going to head up your primary, or at least your original political party. I suppose I could swing and have some monarch-driven militaristic Sophons. It would just take a lot of work, perhaps, to do that, but it's quite possible. With your population, as you have different strengths, you're able to vote in laws. Now, certain laws, we'll see Let's look at all of them right now. Peace economy is outside of my range. Why? Because I only have moderate support when I need at least broad. I'm pretty close. It looks like the threshold for broad is, I'm going to guess around 40, 45%, just based on how this is laid out. So we're pretty close to that, but right now, since I don't have the support, even though I have this technically unlocked, I can't use it. And then all these laws that are permanently in effect, but you kind of have to think long term, what's your empire going for? Because if I really want peace economy, if I want to boost my trade companies, I better get the pacifists some more power through either building more buildings, not rigging the election, although you can do that, but influencing elections or various things. So right now, I had just look at my available, as opposed to all, you see there's two pacifist, almost a text laws that we don't have. Now we go minimal, moderate, moderate, broad, broad. The broad are really the big ones. So we have probes for all, just gives me more probes. Brain drain is less system cost, but also decrease system improvement cost, but it also decreases the science. This decreases science at the impact of food. This just improves science on all your systems by 50%, and this would increase the dust on ships. I don't quite see what that would be. The cost of dust on ships. That's not going to be cost because that's not benefiting you. But anyways, the damage on weapons increases. So definitely some interesting laws and kind of a good or wide array. I mean, this one is great early on and maybe not as useful later on, but it's also a cheap law, right? And they all just have this cost to use them. Obviously, those that are moderate. So you go 100 influence, 250, and 500 at least now. And I'm not sure if that scales with your empire or anything. Haven't really looked into that, although I wouldn't be surprised if it did, much like, well, you know, culture and influence and things. In most 4X games, the bigger your empire is, the more oomph it takes to change the law, right? That would make sense, but I guess I can't confirm that. Now, let's say I wanted to get a pacifist law, the peace economy going, right? So I'm pretty much on the brink. We'll see if we can do that at the end, but I do have a number of ways of influencing that. I can finance a campaign for an average boost, intimidate the candidates, do a press scandal, or buy out voters. So this is mostly tied to influence, which I don't have. Sorry for that. So I'm reliant on money for just little changes. If I had a bunch of influence, I could do a pretty strong boost. But keep in mind, the boost is also tied to your population and such. So, for example, in another game I had, we'll say 5% of my population was industrialists. I did a strong support, and it didn't matter. Like, they got another vote. But when you have 60 votes or something, and one of those was industrialist, you really can't hope to swing your entire empire to an industrial focus. So while you can push and pull, you can't do anything you want. Unless, that is, you're a dictator. So we do have these different government types, and some of the tooltips seem to still be being implemented, but essentially you have democracy, dictatorship, federation, and republic. Now notice they all have a cost. Number of turns that there's anarchy. So that's pretty high anarchy. I mean, 61 turns for a dictatorship. I think this goes to show that each race will have some leanings. Although, again, I could have a dictator, Sophin leader if I wanted. And then you have to have a required happiness. So I need a lot more happiness. Empire-wide, I'm at 49 right now. So doing kind of pitiful, actually. Just quickly, this does influence the kind of I guess ways you affect the elections. You see there's financing, intimidating, imperial pressure, lobbying. So, you know, republic has a lot more money involved. Democracy is a lot more influence. Dictator uses manpower, I guess. And federation is a little mix of both. Now, you probably noticed down here the economic effects also change as I blew through there. So you have bonus to science, and some bonuses with minor factions, as in it costs less. Dictatorship, you have just more money straight up. Federation, you get a industry bonus, and then some reduction in over-colonization. So I think that's just the overall unhappiness. Here you get influence and food. So republics, this is another way to kind of play the, I don't know if you technically classify it as I want to say metagame. That's maybe not quite right. But it's just another option for you. I'm not going to press the, luck with any of these. One thing though I have noticed, they have the different processes here. So like a republic, every representative for each one system. So it's more diversified, right? So as opposed to each individual, you might, or would that be diversified? That wouldn't be if you had a majority. Yeah, if you had 60% and 40, the 40 wouldn't be represented. There we go. That's right. The democracy is the most representative. So power of the population, exactly. One population equals 3 representatives. So that's how it plays into the part. Dictator is kind of fun, though. You can just pick whatever the heck you want for your political party, so you could swing one way or another. There are appeal penalties, though. So kind of cool. I mean, we're already 10 minutes in, and I'm just explaining the options you can do with the political system. It's pretty fleshed out so far. I honestly don't know what they're going to add more. You can't abolish laws permanently, although that's just as simple as you pull it off after 10 turns. But they are permanent laws otherwise. I would like to see some more, and I would be surprised if they don't show up maybe. Well, maybe I shouldn't say I would be surprised. It's more of a hope that there are some laws with a little bit more oomph behind them. Things like the peace economy is very powerful, and super tax is very powerful, and fair trade bill. Those are very powerful. But if you look at science, I'm left thinking, well, the 50% science is great. If I understood that, that's probably great. But these two I feel like are just kind of, I don't know. Maybe you give off an edge, you relinquish your edge on science a little bit to get other improvements. But it would be nice to see some super laws or maybe some hybrid laws. But I don't know if we'll see those. We might not. But honestly, what we have is pretty dang good for a couple of reasons. Elections happen every 20 turns, which from my experience with the Endless Legend and when you get to pick the they're not policies. I ever forget what they are. The Empire creeds or whatnot. Yeah, you know what I'm referring to, right? That's every 20 turns, and that seems about right. This way, it's something that keeps you on your toes, and it really does tie into how you let people enter your system. And it will be curious to see if there will be more tools in place to influence. Well, if I really don't want industrialists in here because they're going to dilute the power of my scientists and the whole battle against the ecologists, I want to keep them out. So there may be ways to prevent that. I don't know. That remains to be seen. But as of right now, you're not really a victim to it, but you have to be smart with what you're doing, Focus your buildings a little bit, and it just helps you to focus your strategy a little bit. Here we have a nice little graph. It shows the power of the different groups. So we actually had pacifists were the strongest to begin with the Sophons. A while ago that switched, and now the scientists have been a little bit more powerful. They came pretty close, and now they're again diverging just based on the way I'm playing my game. It's really cool. It's reflected on your gameplay. But let's put this all to use. Let's end the turn and have an election, guys. So here you have the options. We can do official support, we can do finance campaign, or intimidate the candidates. We can't actually do that. That's a small penalty, while these are a boost to the one you want to support. So while I like the scientists, I want to be able to strengthen my trade groups. So I'm going to do a finance for the campaign in hopes that I push them over the edge. Now these gauges don't really seem to change as I'm really financing. It'd be nice to see how this actually is affected. Right now this seems to just demonstrate where things will be if I don't influence anything, but we'll see how much my my money behind the pacifist helps swing things into our favor. Let's see. So we have our two systems. They voted. It was excellent. You might have missed it, so let's come back here real quick. This is where they start. This is where they go to. So start, go to. the green just shows in each system how many votes were added there. So we have some support. Let's see where we are. The pacifists got moderate support, so we were able to eke past to get the fair trade bill. But that's it. Too bad. Not enough for what we wanted to do. And the pacifists actually lost. Interesting, even with my support. I didn't support the wrong group, did I? They lost strength? No, I didn't. I don't think I did. It's just the way the cookie crumbles, it continues to diverge, you know, based on my gameplay, my population, all that. The pacifists are losing. So, as you can see right there, I wanted to support one group, but it's not as easy as just clicking a button to support them. You really need to play your game towards your long-term strategy. Not that I'm necessarily gimped, but there was a bonus I wanted. Again, the fair trade bill, which I didn't get because I don't have the moderate support needed. So, or not the fair trade bill. Jeepers, Batman. The peace economy, excuse me. So, that is politics, guys. That was actually a longer video than I thought it was. Hopefully that was informative and get you excited for hands-on yourselves. It's a really neat system. Still learning the intricacies of it. Definitely learned a lot trying to get ready for this video, and hopefully I didn't mislead you on anything. If you see any errors, feel free to point them out. I mean, I am still learning some of the ins and outs of this, as everyone will be as this gets released to the community, but that's at least what I've been able to figure out thus far. So hopefully that was, I'm going to say, informative, but rather I'd go enjoyable and be informative for you. But let me know in the comments below what you want me to show off next. I'm thinking of demoing a few other features, but if you have one you want to see me hone in on, whether it's a 5-minute video or a 16-minute video, I honestly thought this wouldn't go quite so long, let me know, and I'll see what I can do here in the next few days before early access comes out, you know, officially for everyone. So thanks for watching, guys, and we will catch you next time. Until then, thanks, and keep checking back for videos. We'll catch you later.